we have discussed the events on the morning of September 11th, 2001, and assessed the battle using the principles of war. Now we turn to the air defense, beginning with the Otis Scramble. The story is complicated and will be told in two parts. In this first part, we provide perspective. We begin with the public statement of the Otis pilots. It was simple and straightforward. The Northeast Air Defense Sector learned of a hijack, and according to the Otis pilots, launched alert fighters, which flew direct and supersonic to defend New York City. That was the story as the Commission began its work. Early on, the Commission staff obtained the United States Air Force radar files for the Otis Scramble. The actual path was nothing like the public explanation. NORAD was tasked to clarify that at the Commission's May 23, 2003 Air Defense hearing. Military witnesses did not and could not provide clarification because they had never sorted it out. The briefer blurred the path of the Otis fighters. He blamed the inadequacies of PowerPoint to Commission staff when interviewed. So, how did the Otis Scramble proceed? We begin by identifying the participants. Boston Center eventually contacted the right organization, Northeast Air Defense Sector. In Episode 3, Part 3, we documented the close working relationship between the two organizations. Boston called Northeast a few seconds before 8:38. Here is that exchange.
Just weapons, Sergeant Powell.
Hi, Boston Center, Team U. We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys to, we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise, not a test.
Within minutes, Northeast put the Otis fighters on battle stations. Here is that order.
This is Huntress placing Panta 4546 on battle stations. I repeat, battle stations. Time 1241. All parties acknowledged with initials. Command post. Giant Killer. Tower. Approach. All parties are cleared to drop.
Panta 45 and 46 were dedicated Massachusetts Air National Guard active air defense fighters, fully loaded with the ability to authenticate an order to engage. That order also identified other participants. Command Post controlled Otis Base operations. Otis Tower was responsible for getting the fighters in the air. Tower assigned Runway 5, a south to north takeoff. Approach, also at Otis, was responsible for local air traffic control and for handing the fighters off to Boston Center. Giant Killer, pictured here, has an awkward official title: Fleet Area Control and Surveillance Facility, Virginia Capes, at Oceana Naval Air Station, Virginia Beach, Virginia. It is a United States Navy organization that uses Federal Aviation Administration policies and procedures to control air traffic in offshore military training areas when activated. Specifically, concerning the Otis Scramble, Giant Killer controlled Training Area Whiskey 105, shown here. That is a vast space of overwater airspace, also controlled by two sectors at Boston Center. Cape Sector controls traffic south of Cape Cod. Hampton Sector controls traffic south of Long Island and interfaces with New York Center when required. In summation, Boston Center notified Northeast Sector. Northeast alerted Giant Killer and entities at Otis. Command post alerted the pilots, and tower launched them. Approach then handed the fighters off to Cape Sector, which then handed them off to Hampton Sector to operate in Training Area Whiskey 105. With the participants established, let us now take a closer look at the 2002 public explanation by the fighter pilots. That account implies two things and explicitly states two more things. The pilots inferred that they had a target and that they were under military control. They were explicit that they flew direct to New York, supersonic. None of that happened. The fighters never had a target. The Northeast Sector Operations Control Center, or SOC, was commanded by Major Nasipany, the mission crew commander. The senior director, Major Fox, controlled all fighter and tanker operations. Here is their conversation about what to do.
SDMCC, Scramble Otis.
Copy, same mission. MCC, I don't know where I'm scrambling these guys to. I need a direction, destination.
Okay, I'm going to give you the Z point. Just north of New York City.
I got this long 4115, 7436, or 7346.
Head them in that direction.
Copy that. It doesn't matter.
Fox authorized a partial scramble order, commenting that it doesn't matter. His task was to get the fighters in the air. Details could follow.
This is Huntress with an active air defense scramble 4, Panta 4546, time 1246. Scramble immediately, Panta 4546, heading 280, flight level 290. All parties acknowledged with initials. Command post, tower, approach, giant killer.
A scramble order typically includes 4 elements: a target, distance, direction, and flight level. The Northeast Sector scramble order lacked the first 2 elements. That partial order established that the Otis fighters had no target. With no target, there was no need for military control. Boston Center, in its initial call to Northeast Sector, stated why it would retain control. Here is that exchange between Joe Cooper at Boston and Major Don Deskins at Northeast.
We lost the mode C on it, so you'd have to get up in the air and we'd have to vector you towards the aircraft.
Okay, so you'd want to control the intercept because
We have to, yeah, until
right.
you guys pick them up on primary radar.
Okay.
Boston would control until Northeast Sector obtained a primary or radar-only target. From the beginning, there was no target, and there never would be. Northeast Sector never established a track on a target. Control, therefore, remained with the Federal Aviation Administration. The controllers for the Otis fighters confirmed that reality, as did Major Fox. Here is the perspective of the controllers.
Hold on.
They're going to be getting point-outs from ATCs. If we do it, we're just cluttering them up and distracting them.
Here is Fox's assessment.
They're going to maintain under center control, but they're going to be talking to you on their backup radio.
Okay.
We may have to just get them out here and hold them for a while.
That assessment continued when Major Fox learned that American 11 may have struck the World Trade Center.
The weapons team should pass that. The fighters should be talking to center. They're going to pass that through the fighters, exactly what we want them to do. They're still under FA control. We're never going to take them.
Once the fighters were airborne, Cape Sector alerted Giant Killer.
Giant Killer, Cape 59. Killer. Another point out for you, south of Sandy Point, on the code of 3401. It's a flight of 2 F-15s. It's the Panta 4546. They're out there right now, not so sure what they're going to do. They were supposed to be the chase aircraft for something else, but they might be turning it back, and they might be going into AEROSPACE, so. Okay.
However, the sector continued Federal Aviation Administration control in handing the fighters off to Hampton sector.
Giant Killer on 338.1, let them know, or come up with Boston Center's frequency of 259.1. Actually go 259.1 first, and then at the same time you can contact 338.1 Hutchinson, Giant Killer, let them know your intentions, please, because you're going into their airspace. Okay, I'll do all that, thanks.
Cape sector provided frequencies for both Giant Killer and Hampton sector, but directed contact with Hampton sector first. Hampton sector, for its part, also elected to keep the fighters under Federal Aviation Administration control, as opposed to handing them off to Giant Killer.
We gave those Panthers over to Giant Killer, so they're talking to them now.
He's talking to me.
Hampton sector further directed the fighters within Giant Killer airspace, Whiskey 105.
Panta 45, calling center.
Confirm, Panta 45, Whiskey 290. I would like to hold in the very western corner of Whiskey 105.
Panta 45, roger. Should I give you a radial DME or a light long? What works best for you?
I can just stay out here on my sit mode, no problem. I can stay within the airspace.
Okay, that'll be fine. You cleared the delay in western end of warning area 105, maintain flight level 290, and just advise when you're ready to proceed on course. Any idea what your destination will be yet?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay, thank you.
And that takes care of the implications in the pilot's statement that they were under military control. Before we turn to the explicit pilot public statements, let's summarize the scramble. Northeast Sector obtained operational information, a set of coordinates, at 8:40.
All right, current coordinates are, let's see, 4115 north.
4115 north.
07346 west.
07346 west.
That was the notification time for American 11, as it entered in the official logbook of the day. The plotted point was 34 nautical miles from Lower Manhattan, but that did not become actionable until conversations with Boston Center were concluded. Surveillance technicians began to search the coordinates, a Z-point on their scopes, just before American 11 flew into the World Trade Center North Tower. The search box was 25 nautical miles. The search was too late and too far off course.
I believe that is his last known position, so I want you to tag everything up around that. All right. In a standard 25-mile.
In summary, the Otis fighters were placed on battle stations at 8:41. The scramble order, heading 280, flight level 290, was issued at 8:46, just as American 11 slammed into the World Trade Center North Tower. Panta 45 and 46 were airborne 6 minutes later. It was a rapid response, but the target was gone. Now to the explicit statements in the pilot's public statement. United States Air Force radar files establish that the fighters did not fly direct to New York. Nor did they fly supersonic. Foremost, that was not standard operating procedure for active air defense operations. NORAD established that fact for the public in its September 18, 2001 press release. That policy is routinely stated on the Northeast Sector tapes as maximum subsonic, military power, or simply mil power. There are good reasons for this policy. Among these are fuel conservation, dwell time on target, and finding a much slower moving target. Here are the actual speeds for 2 legs of the flight. Just after takeoff, the fighters did approach Mach 1, 42 nautical miles in just under 4.5 minutes. For the entire leg, they flew 133 nautical miles in 15 minutes. The leg to New York City was just at 100 nautical miles in just over 11 minutes. Calculated speeds for each leg are 0.9 Mach, consistent with NORAD policy. Moreover, the Panta flight was aware that they no longer had a target to pursue. On check-in with Cape Sector at 8:56, Panta 45 was told about the crash into World Trade Center 1. At 9:08, ZBW Hampton Sector told Panta 45 about the second impact. Hampton Sector, in conversation with Giant Killer, retained control. Thereafter, things get confusing, which we will sort out in Part 2. Keep in mind that as the Otis fighters started and failed to establish a holding pattern, Northeast Sector radars had reacquired the fast-moving American Flight 77 approaching the nation's capital. Stay tuned for Part 2.